All right, well, this one is a little bit of stepping back to figure out the better approach for moving forward. Okay, I made a first mistake here, I think is pretty good. So I'll show you guys what I did, my approach to doing it, the solution to that mistake. There are a few options of how to do this, but I honestly think that this will not be a huge deal. I'll see later on if it does end up becoming one, and I will have multiple approaches to correct that mistake. So for now, let me show you guys what happened. All right, so I'm incredibly transparent on everything with this build. You guys know this, that I don't have excuses. I usually have results and answers, and that goes for my work, and it goes for all the stuff that I apply into this stuff. So, okay, so what happened? When we did the fabrication, not for the exhaust manifold, but for the downpipe, the exhaust, all the charge piping, fills work, absolutely perfection, beautiful. I'm almost positive, and I'm going to go check this from the older pictures and videos, that when we installed the dummy block, which is actually over right here, I've used those housings for a side project. That will be something later on to show you guys. It is very unique, very exotic. When we used that dummy block, I'm almost positive I installed this motor mount here with no oil pan. And on this Built Apex oil pan, you're going to have a 1/4 of an inch or so of height variance, because the 3 bolts mount into the center iron. I can show you guys, I'll just hop underneath the car, but the 3 bolts mount to the center iron to locate this bracket. And this bracket is this motor mount right here. And so for this to locate, what it means is when we did the fabrication, the engine would actually be sitting down a 1/4 of an inch, because without the oil pan in place, that mount is now a 1/4 inch higher, which means this all was 1/4 inch lower. Not the end of the world. So the exhaust manifold and everything, all the height, right? There's no issue when it comes to the hood height or anything that's incredibly crucial. What it does end up doing is my air gaps for the exhaust manifold to the bottom of the car tighter. There's a little bit of tweaking that I had to do right here just to get everything realigned, because this is a little bit tighter. That's mostly due to the header shield, which is not an issue. It's more so just me being smart about how to approach things for cooling. So with this, we'll say 1/4 inch height difference, right? It made me start thinking. I thought initially it was the motor mounts. I'm like, shit, okay, Ryan, let's do this the right way. Let's buy competition motor mounts. They're going to make the car be grand touring, comfort, and not have any drawbacks. Like, a really powerful car will frickin' spin the motor, because as the motor is rotating this way, right, the rotors are going this way, the counteraction to that action is going this direction. Okay, so the motor is going to torque this way. And so this turbo is going to go like this, which is why we left spacing here. And this is going to counteract going this direction. So I was smart. I said, you know what? I'm going to go with competition motor mounts, keep it smooth. And then, before I get to that, I was incorrect, thinking that the height difference was a variable. The height is identical, okay? It's a little hard to capture on camera. I'm not using calipers right here to show you guys, but besides this bolt-to-bolt offset, which is a variance in this based on this dimple location, which should be aiming downward when installed, and that's kind of important for you guys. This height is the same as this height, okay? that 1/4 inch could not be found from here. So now you can see I've got one of each mount. What the heck did you do, Ryan? Well, since the motor is a compression side and this will go this direction. So what's going to end up happening is under power, the side that's going to get pushed down is my competition motor mount, which means all the crazy vibration that ever could happen is going through a softer rubber. The side that is holding the motor in place is polyurethane. So realistically, I'm getting the best of both worlds here. And then I have a spare replacement set by having a smoother riding, factory-esque competition on this side and a harder polyurethane on this side. So it will still tweak a little bit, right, due to power, but because this balance, it should be the best of both worlds between power holding and comfort. Okay, so 2 ways to resolve the problem. I can either shave this mount, super easy, it's polyurethane. It will take literally 10 minutes at most. Then I could not shave the competition mount. So then I'd be stuck with running 2 shaved polyurethane to drop that 1/4 inch down. I could do that. Sure. That would resolve everything. I could get it to where I have my perfect fitment again. But I really do think that the juice is worth the squeeze, and I can keep all of my stuff exactly as is, and I will just do my variances for this charge pipe right here. So I'll just take my little 1/4 inch spacer, drop it in here, run longer one of these studs right here. Very simple, just to order a longer bolt, not a big deal. And I'll do this to do a couple things. With the intercooler further up, the charge piping between here and here will have a slightly more room. They were very tight before. The 4-inch coming off this turbo is going around, and it's being pinched into an oval. And when you add in clamps and you add in silicone couplers to make the front inlet go into the nose of the car, the idea of having another 1/4 inch of space to work with on getting even something as simple as a hose clamp and ratchet is great. Serviceability in the car is not the best, right? We have so much stuff in here. So by offsetting this a little bit, I'm going to sacrifice my my overall perfection of like lower weight and, you know, perfect fitment on having air gaps for certain things. And I can offset all that slightly and have a very, 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 very minor angle added in here. But what I'm gaining is a little bit more service and a lot less vibration into the chassis, which is what I think will match the build with its continuity a lot better. So if later down the road I decide ditch the spacers, shave the motor mounts, measure exactly what I need, take it down, lowers the driveline angle, changes the pinion angle, you know, it's not a huge road. It's a relatively simple day job sort of thing. So I think for now I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to finish doing stuff like painting some of this so I don't have any rust. I'm going to do this side tomorrow, and I'm going to go through and start reassembling everything exactly as is on the motor mounts. So for now, I've just got the lower intake manifold coming from John. He did about 19 hours with his machinist to true up every single thing of that, because his car, which a lot of you saw at Deals Gap, caught fire due to a fuel leak on the secondary fuel rail. And after seeing this rail in person, and after seeing how crazy nothing was aligned, it's not... I don't want to fault CX Racing for this, because Renee is a great guy. There's so many good things that you can work with from that company. But the tolerances and stuff for how that's being created, when you weld something, aluminum, if you don't have it plated down to a block, it will flex, right? So across the fuel rail is 45 thousandths of a banana, right? That's quite a large variance. And what he did is every hole is now trued. Everything is now perfectly port matched. I've got a copper gasket going in. I'm going to be doing a slotted, they're technically like a dowel. So I'm dropping in a dowel over these studs, and I'm putting 5 more of these style studs in here. And then on the CX Racing manifold, it's about a 10 millimeter hole, and that's an 8 millimeter dowel, or 8 millimeter stud. So I'll install the split dowel into the intake manifold to true everything up. And then I'll chop it down off the extra. I will get the split dowel to be perfectly aligned, so everything is exactly where it needs to be aligned on the car. And I can rotate the split dowels if I need to do any clocking in any direction, up, down, side to side. And then, once that's all dialed, then I go ahead and pretty much lock it all down, throw the intake on, get back to work with the plumbing, and we'll be dialed. So I'm leaving a lot of things at about 80% for ease of access, and if I did want to keep changing stuff, that's why this came back off, that's why this came back off. I painted this crap. And yeah, we're getting back to the fun stuff of fuel systems. And I guess that's it for now. So later this week I will do... This NPT is way too tight, so I ordered a couple more just to see if it's a part manufacturing issue on the fitting, or if I need to knock this back out again and then tap this because it's way too tight. Guys, I'm not sure if you know this about NPT fittings, but you're supposed to start 2 to 3 threads deep. Okay, so this should be able to go in 2 to 3 threads before having any sort of tension. Okay. Then you max out the NPT where it's fully sealed at 7 threads. That is a standard. That's how it's supposed to be. This company may have overdone the external dimensions of this, or this company may have undersized their dimensions. And I can't just go run a tap through this. That would be stupid, right? Like, I would have to, at bare minimum, stick a rag down here and do it that way. But I don't think that's a smart way. I can run a vacuum, I can stick a rag down there. I would much rather tap this thing out, run it through my 1/2-inch MPT tap, and do it that way. But I'm hoping that spending $20 on different fittings, one of these fittings is not as tight as this one is. So you run into small stuff like this, and Chinesium is always going to have a problem. So you guys need to know how to work on this stuff yourselves, and you need to know when to call it, when to make those harder decisions. And this is one of those where it's like, I would much rather just pull this thing out right now, take a hammer to it, pop it out of the block and go through it with a tap and just make sure it's perfect to this fitting. Or I wait until those two fittings to show up to tomorrow or the next couple days and see if they work perfect. But yeah, 2-3 threads is where they should start with zero effort, and then between 3 and 7 is where they're seated. 7 is the maximum, and this thing is already getting bound up on the first thread. So check this out. You can tell I clocked it. Oh yeah, one little turn. I clocked it intentionally to miss this, right? But yeah, it's way, way, way tight. And you can see it's actually, it's not even dirty. It's just shitty. And if you go to Franklin Engineering, which is what this cap is from, this is 1/2 inch MPT. And this is definitely, in my hand, 1/2 inch MPT. And I believe, I need to find it real quick. Only for YouTube. Only for YouTube. The frustration on most of your faces right now. Oh yeah, using thighs. Okay, that's our boy, right? 1/2 inch MPT. And we look at our fitting, because that's a reasonable thing to do. And of course, it's like a 10 millimeter. You put it down, you lose track of where the heck you just put it. Did I really just bring it over here? Oh my goodness. All right, I've officially become a YouTuber. I've wasted your time. Put this in here. And as you could tell, I have to be very careful. It does catch metal shavings. Yeah, I'm very untrustworthy of this right now. And we will stop that right there. Because that is a mistake. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to do this properly. Oh, YouTube shit. So anyways, on that note, I'm going to leave that there. And I very carefully pull that out and make sure there is zero chance of metal shavings getting into my engine. We don't take those chances around here. And it's aluminum, so you can't just take a magnet and go. So, I'll catch you guys in the next one. And pray for me. It's going to be fun.